Table 9
Is
had
this everything?
ordered the same thing for
Everything
3
we could
Tuesdays
find.
running, 2 black coffees, 1 Denver omelet, 1 dry wheat toast, no butter, and Renata Cruz had learned the way waitresses learn everything without meaning to, that the man in the gray suit was named Marcus, that he ran some kind of manufacturing company, and that the numbers he kept repeating to the older man across from him did not add up. She wasn't listening on purpose. You couldn't refill coffee at a table for 3 weeks straight without absorbing the shape of a conversation, even when you were trying not to. And on the 3rd Tuesday, standing at the coffee station 12 feet away, Renata heard the older man, silver-haired, expensive watch, a voice pitched for boardrooms rather than diners, say a date that was wrong, not wrong in a way most people would catch. Wrong in a way that only mattered if you had once spent 6 years reconciling international wire transfers for a living, and had trained yourself against every instinct toward forgetting, to notice when a transaction date and a stated timeline didn't sit in the same month. They were supposed to. She put the coffee pot down. She stood there a moment longer than she should have done before we find out what she did next, and why it would matter more than either of them understood. That morning we need a minute to understand who Renata Cruz used to be before she started, wearing a name tag that read Renata and carrying a coffee pot for. Tips. Renata was 31 years old, and for 6 years before she ever set foot in Della's diner, she had worked as a forensic accountant at a mid-sized firm 2 states over, specializing in exactly the kind of transaction reconciliation that made most people's eyes glaze over and had made hers sharpen instead. She'd been good at it, the best in her department, by her own manager's private admission, until the year she found a pattern of falsified vendor invoices running through a client's books and reported it up the chain the way she'd been trained to. The partner she reported it to was the one running the scheme. Within 4 months, Renata had been quietly pushed out on a manufactured performance complaint. Her reputation in the small world of regional forensic accounting poisoned before she understood what was happening to her, and every subsequent interview she landed evaporated the moment someone made a call to check her references. She had moved 3 states away to escape it, taken a waitressing job because it was the fastest thing that would pay rent, and told herself most days that she was done trusting institutions to reward the truth. She made $8.25 an hour plus tips, which on a good Tuesday came to about $90 for an 8-hour shift, and she had gotten very good in the 18 months since. And not thinking about the 6 years before it, Marcus Bellamy was 44 years old, and he ran Bellamy Fabrication, a mid-sized industrial parts manufacturer his father had built from a single machine shop in 1986. Marcus had inherited it 9 years ago, and had spent every year since terrified, in the specific quiet way successful men rarely admit to, of being the generation that lost what his father built. The company employed 340 people across 2 plants. It had survived 2 recessions on the strength of careful management and had, over the last 18 months, needed a capital infusion to modernize its aging equipment before a larger competitor undercut them permanently. The older man across from him at table 9, Gerald Fenn, was a private investment consultant. Marcus had been introduced to through a mutual contact 8 months earlier, and who had structured what looked on paper, like exactly the rescue Marcus needed, a $12 million capital partnership, funds routed through an offshore holding structure Gerald assured him was standard practice for deals of this size, dispersed in 3 tranches tied to modernization milestones. Marcus had already signed the first tranche agreement. He was 3 Tuesdays into what he believed was the deal that would save his father's company, and he trusted Gerald Fenn the way a drowning man trusts the first hand extended toward him, without the leisure to check its grip too carefully. The second tranche closes the 14th. Gerald said that 3rd Tuesday, sliding a folder across the table. Cayman transfers already initiated on our end. You'll see it reflected by end of month. Marcus nodded, signed where indicated, and did not notice, because he had no reason to, because trust does not audit itself, that the transfer date Gerald had just cited did not match the wire confirmation number printed in small type at the bottom of the folder's cover page, a document Marcus had barely glanced at in his hurry to keep the rescue moving. Renata, 12 feet away, noticed both. Before we continue, if you believe that expertise doesn't disappear just because the world stopped paying for it, and that the truth is worth the risk of speaking it, please like this video, subscribe to Kindness Tales, and share this with someone who needs to believe in people again today. She went home that night and did not sleep well. She told herself it wasn't her business. She told herself she had learned expensively what happens to people who point at numbers that powerful men don't want examined. She told herself Marcus Bellamy was a stranger who ordered the same omelet every Tuesday and had never once looked at her long enough to remember her face, and that she owed him nothing. She thought also about the version of herself that had once believed the truth was self-evidently worth defending, and how much that version had cost her, and whether the cost had been the truth's fault or the fault of people who preferred not to look at it. The following Tuesday, she watched Marcus sign another set of documents while Gerald talked in the easy, confident cadence of a man who had done this many times before to many people. When Marcus excused himself to the restroom, Renata cleared his plate, and beneath it, where the check usually went, she left a folded napkin instead. It read, in small, careful handwriting, the Cayman transfer confirmation number on your tranche. 2 documents doesn't match the disbursement date Mr. Fenn cited verbally. I used to do forensic accounting. Have someone independent verify the wire records before the 3rd tranche closes. A waitress who used to know things. She did not sign her name. She went back to the coffee station and did not look at table 9 again for the rest of the shift, her heart going harder than it had in 18 months, certain she had either done something important or something that would mean nothing at all. Marcus found the napkin under his plate when he reached for the check. He almost threw it away with the rest of the table debris. He read it twice standing at the register, Gerald already outside on a phone call, and felt something cold move through him that had nothing to do with the diner's air conditioning. He did not sleep that night either. He called an independent forensic auditor the next morning, not someone connected to Gerald, not someone in his usual circle, a firm 2 states over that a college friend vouched for personally. He gave them the wire confirmation numbers from every tranche document Gerald had provided, and asked them to trace the actual transaction history behind each one. It took the auditors 9 days. What they found was this: the Cayman account Gerald Fenn had directed Marcus's first tranche payment into had no record of forwarding those funds into any modernization escrow. The account had, instead, made 4 transfers in the preceding 6 months to 3 other companies whose ownership structures traced back through 2 shell layers to Gerald Fenn himself. Marcus's first tranche payment, $4 million of his father's company's capital, had not funded a rescue. It had funded a payout to Gerald's previous victims. The way the earliest investors in exactly this kind of scheme are always paid first, with money taken from whoever comes after them. Marcus went back to Della's diner on a Wednesday, off his usual schedule, and asked the manager, with a directness he did not usually operate with, whether there was a waitress who worked Tuesday mornings, dark hair, mid-30s. Quiet Renata was refilling ketchup bottles at the counter when he found her. She looked up, recognized him immediately, and felt her stomach drop in the specific way it had dropped 4 years earlier, when a different man in a different suit had once asked to speak with her privately. "You wrote the napkin," Marcus said. "Not a question." "I don't know what you're talking about," Renata said. "Out of 18 months of practiced instinct, you saved my company $8 million and probably my father's entire legacy," Marcus said. "I had the tranche 2 payment ready to go through on Friday. It would have been gone by Monday, same as the first $4 million, and there wouldn't have been a company left to modernize by the time anyone figured it out." Renata set down the ketchup bottle. "Is he caught?" "Federal investigators have him as of yesterday morning. 6 other victims across 3 states, going back 4 years. Marcus looked at her for a long moment. "You said you used to do forensic accounting. What happened?" She told him. All of it. The falsified invoices, the partner running the scheme, the manufactured complaint, the poisoned references, the 18 months of coffee pots and $90 Tuesdays. Marcus listened the way she had once listened for a wire date that didn't match a stated timeline completely, without interrupting, cataloging every detail, because every detail mattered. "I want to hire you," he said when she finished. "Not out of gratitude, though there's plenty of that. I need a director of internal audit, and I have never in 9 years of running that company met anyone who caught what you caught, with nothing to gain and everything to lose by saying so. My references will kill it before HR finishes the first call." "I'll make the calls myself," Marcus said. "And I know a securities attorney who specializes in exactly the kind of retaliation you described. If there's a case to clear your name properly, I'll fund it. Not as payment for the napkin, because it's the right thing to do, and because I'd like the next Renata Cruz who spots something wrong to believe it's still worth writing down." 6 months later, Renata Cruz sat in an office at Bellamy Fabrication with her own nameplate on the door, having successfully petitioned to have the manufactured complaint expunged from her professional record with the help of the attorney Marcus had connected her to. She kept in her top desk drawer the pen she had used to write that napkin. Not framed, not displayed, just kept, the way you keep a small tool that once did something larger than its size suggested it could. Marcus kept a laminated copy of the napkin itself in his own desk, a reminder, on the days the company's numbers looked complicated, that the truth is sometimes quietest in the room, standing 12 feet away with a coffee pot, waiting to see if anyone will read it If this story moved you, please like this video, leave a comment, and share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Subscribe to Kindness Tales for more stories of courage, grace, and the small human moments that change everything. And tell us in the comments, have you ever noticed something was wrong and had to decide whether it was your place to say so